I recall that evening when my sister's voice erupted, filling the air with its unmistakable volume. What seems to be the matter? As I sat before the screen, the surroundings enveloped me in breathtaking beauty. Logan, where have you gone? I seek assistance. What seems to be the issue? Filled with a sense of urgency, as though a crisis loomed nearby, I sprang to my feet and inquired, "What's the matter?" Her voice resonated from the restroom, laced with disbelief. I had overlooked my garments. "Would you be so kind as to venture up to my room and retrieve them for me?" My sister was a kind and caring soul, yet she often found herself lost in the haze of forgetfulness. She had once asked me to buy anything for her, but this occasion felt distinct. I ascended to my room. She searched for the garments she had abandoned and carried them down to the restroom. As I knocked, she swung the door open a bit wider than normal, her hands moving swiftly to gather the scattered clothes. Yet in that fleeting instant, the bathroom light shimmered upon her fair skin, illuminating every contour of her form that I had not anticipated encountering. Confusion washed over me, prompting a swift glance elsewhere, yet my heart continued to race, and my gaze remained inexplicably drawn to the image before me. Since that day, I, Logan, have sensed a profound change within my heart. She remained my sister, the one I felt closest to within the confines of our home, yet the eerie, unsettling sensation from that moment persisted, drawing me into a vortex of dark reflections. Uncertainty loomed over me as I grappled with the challenge of confronting her, and, in turn, confronting my own feelings. This year, my sister celebrated her 24th birthday. She is a breathtaking and self-assured woman who captivates the gaze of all those in her vicinity. Her figure is slender, her face is delicate, and most notably, her waist captivates attention in a way that is hard to overlook. Embracing her free-spirited essence, she often adorns herself in sleek, form-fitting garments. Be it within the confines of her home or in the bustling world outside, those costumes seem to accentuate her beauty in every way. Intentional or not, they send my heart racing with each glimpse. My heart has transformed since that evening when I caught a fleeting sight of her in the bathroom through the slightly ajar door. The soft yellow glow danced upon her fair skin, while the shimmering water cascaded down her curves, etching the moment into my memory forever. It is clear that such events ought not to have transpired, nor should they have remained in my mind for an extended period. Yet that feeling, that fixation, lingers like a specter, haunting me and refusing to depart. Initially, I attempted to persuade myself that all would eventually fade and that the vision was merely an unfortunate happenstance. Yet, each night as I settled into bed, the images of the day returned to me with striking clarity. There were moments when I would awaken in the stillness of night, beads of cold sweat tracing down my forehead, grappling with the unwelcome thoughts that invaded my mind. Yet, the harder I fought, the more those emotions surged, relentless and overpowering. Each day, akin to a blaze that consumed my rationale. She carried on with her life in our cozy abode, blissfully ignorant of the turmoil brewing within me. She laughed and joked with me as always, her familiar clear voice ringing in my ears. What once felt ordinary now stirred something deep within me, as I gazed into her sparkling eyes and caught a whiff of the lovely perfume she wore, filling my heart with an unexpected warmth. There was an inexplicable sensation within me, one I couldn't quite articulate. All I understood was that I had lost touch with who I truly was. Her fitted attire added a layer of complexity as she settled onto the sofa, legs elegantly crossed while watching TV, or when she gathered her hair up, exposing her graceful neck and bare shoulders. Each detail ensnared me in a web of contradictory emotions. A wave of humiliation washed over me, mingling with a sense of shame and an undeniable, lingering desire. Still, I endeavored to maintain an air of calm composure. I engaged in conversation and shared laughter with her, as though the past had never occurred. I assisted her with small household tasks, engaged in conversations about inconsequential matters, and at times, playfully teased her. I longed to witness her smile, yet beneath those exchanges lay a silent struggle, one whose resolution remained a mystery to me. I averted my gaze from her eyes, apprehensive that she might uncover the turmoil brewing within me. After a long day, I chose to unwind in my room with an adult film. This wasn't my first encounter with such a scenario, yet perhaps due to my fluctuating emotions and a mind awash with chaotic thoughts, everything appeared more alluring than ever before. After watching, I reclined on the bed in a stupor, the vivid images and emotions clinging to my thoughts until a sharp knock on the door pulled me back to the present. "Logan, step outside with me for a moment, and let's gather some vegetables for dinner." Her remarks, as always, navigated the delicate line between urgency and tenderness. I replied affirmatively, urging them to hold on for just a moment. Rising swiftly, I adjusted my attire, momentarily oblivious to the absence of my undergarments, as I made my way to the living room. My gaze was instantly captured by Anne's image. She wore a fitted t-shirt that accentuated her slender waist and short shorts that showcased her long, pale legs. The flawless lines rendered my thoughts momentarily vacant. The thoughts I had attempted to suppress surged forth like a tumultuous tide, an odd feeling enveloping me. Within my heart, a rose bloomed, embodying a blend of admiration and confusion that eluded my comprehension. I endeavored to maintain my composure, to push aside the tumult of emotions surging within me as I drew closer to her, yet my body betrayed my intentions, responding with a will of its own. A wave of sensation coursed through me as I became aware of my arousal, and to complicate things further, I suddenly realized I was without any undergarments. My whole being seemed to conspire against my thoughts, thrusting me into an uncomfortable and uncontrollable predicament, and then she erupted into laughter, her voice resonating through the stillness of the hall. She gazed at me, her eyes brimming with an emotion that eluded description. Her laughter was a mystery to me. "What seems to be the matter? Is there anything amusing?" I attempted to mask my astonishment, yet her laughter only intensified, compelling her to turn away to escape my gaze. "Logan, venturing out in this manner isn't beneficial for you," she remarked, her hand covering her mouth as she struggled to suppress a laugh. I stood there, frozen like a statue in the center of the living room, utterly bewildered as she let out a soft chuckle. I inquired, "What troubles you? Did I happen to do something amusing?" Yet she averted her gaze, striving to mask the sting of her embarrassment. "No, it's nothing at all. Ascend to the upper level." "I'll go alone," she said, her voice tinged with hesitation and gravity, as if she were attempting to mask an unspoken truth. I remained rooted in place, gazing at her, utterly perplexed. What was her initial motivation for wanting me to join her? Simply to guide her to venture forth on her own. Though doubt lingered in my mind, I found myself at a loss for further inquiries. Upon re-entering the room, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. As I strolled by the mirror, my gaze lingered, and I understood the source of her laughter. I found myself without undergarments, while my son had been proudly displaying his flag for some time. My cheeks ignited with embarrassment. I found myself frozen, engulfed in humiliation, grappling with uncertainty about my next move. The sound of her laughter lingered in my mind. "Were you unaware of that?" Clearly she did, otherwise such a hearty laugh would not have escaped her lips. Yet what prevented her from expressing it outright? What prompted her to so quietly request my departure? Upon my return to the room, a flurry of questions emerged, quickening the beat of my heart. Was she merely amused by the comical scenario, or was there a deeper intention behind her laughter? I reclined on the bed, my hands shielding my face, yearning to escape the unsettling sensation that enveloped me. Yet the image of Anne, her joyous laughter, and that peculiar sense of disorientation lingered on. I found myself pondering whether she held me in the same regard as I did her, or if my insecurities were merely a matter of chance. Regret swelled within my heart. Yet, amidst it all, a flicker of hope ignited within me, and upon returning home, her presence lingered in my thoughts, refusing to fade away. Embarrassment lingered within me, a shadow of the recent event. Though uncertainty clouded my thoughts, I couldn't shake the feeling that she had caught a glimpse of something amusing moments before. The deeper my thoughts delved, the more my cheeks flushed, as though I had been discovered in a moment of indiscretion. Still, I compelled myself to maintain my composure and behave as though nothing was amiss. I made the choice to head to the kitchen alongside my sister, aiming to recreate our usual demeanor as we set about preparing dinner. Upon entering, I immediately voiced my thoughts, as is my custom. Your back is present. Is the market bustling with a crowd of people? And did not look back. She replied with a tidy response, acknowledging that it was acceptable, though somewhat congested. Please enter and lend me your assistance. I approached her as she diligently washed the vegetables, nodding in acknowledgement. I settled into my task, methodically separating each branch of vegetable for her to ready for boiling. The room was enveloped in silence, the only sound being the gentle trickle of water from the sink faucet, yet within me, a tension continued to simmer just beneath the surface. I was uncertain whether she truly registered the events that had just unfolded, or if I was merely complicating matters further. I believed that if I refrained from bringing it up again, everything would eventually fade away. Yet, in that very instant, her voice pierced the air, causing me to freeze in place. Have you finished yet? I was utterly astonished. Her words struck me like a sudden blow, further unsettling my already fragile mind. Though I grasped the essence of her implication, I lacked the fortitude to confront it. My entire being became still, caught in a moment of uncertainty, unsure of how to respond. My heart raced, yet I feigned ignorance to her meaning. I have completed the task of dismantling it. It ought to be fine, shouldn't it? She glanced my way, her eyes sparkling with a playful and capricious glint. She offered a gentle smile and gave a subtle nod. If you have finished, then let it be. I am able to proceed. Her voice was unremarkable, yet there was an oddity in her words, a hint of jest, a touch of mischief, that left me feeling profoundly embarrassed. I remained silent, merely nodding as I rose to my feet, then made my way upstairs. Proceed with your thoughts. I felt a hint of fatigue wash over me, and with a faint smile, I chose to remain silent. I slipped out of the kitchen with a measured grace, though my heart raced wildly as I returned to my room. As I sank onto the bed, a wave of shame and embarrassment washed over me. Her question reverberated in my mind, leaving me to ponder whether she truly grasped the depths of my thoughts. As I reclined on the bed, my hands shielded my face. A wave of confusion and helplessness washed over me. I must exercise restraint. This is my sister, and indeed, she is my sister. I echoed it as a gentle nudge, yet the vision of her in the kitchen, her radiant smile, and her playful voice lingered in my mind. Trapped in the aftermath of that evening, once the family had concluded their meal, I retreated to my room to tidy the disarray accumulating in the corner of my desk. The stillness enveloped the room, broken only by the gentle chorus of insects serenading the night beyond the window. As I busied myself with the task of organizing my books, a gentle knock at the door caught my attention. Who might it be? I inquired, my tone tinged with curiosity. It is we, myself. Anne's voice resonated with gentle and recognizable warmth. Could you lend me a hand with something? I responded swiftly, no issue at all. What is it that you seek? With each word, I drew closer and gently pushed the door open. Before anything else, my gaze was drawn to Anne's pajamas as she stood before me. It was a light blue silk nightgown, both delicate and alluring against her flawless white skin. The dress boasted a deep V-neck, elegantly showcasing her collarbone and slender shoulders. My heart raced, yet I endeavored to keep a composed facade. With a playful grin, she stepped into the room, her phone held tightly in her grasp. There seems to be an issue with my phone. I find myself puzzled by the program's tendency to crash each time I attempt to open it. I attempted to restart it, yet it proved ineffective. Would you be able to assist me? I inclined my head and accepted the phone from her grasp. Allow me to give it a go. It is probably merely a software glitch, perhaps stemming from an app conflict or a recent operating system upgrade, and remained as composed as ever. Her presence in this confined space, particularly clad in her pajamas, left me utterly perplexed. I glanced at my phone, delving into the settings with curiosity. True to form, her operating system was outdated and unable to support the latest version of the application. I conveyed that your phone requires an upgrade to its operating system. Allow me to download the latest update, reinstall it, and everything will be in order. Oh, is that so? What a relief. Fear gripped me at the thought that it might be broken. She spoke, her tone gentle and unhurried as I leaned down, grappling with the download. The update, I sensed her gaze upon me. I cast a fleeting glance at her from the periphery of my vision. Her gaze was not fixed on the phone or my actions. Instead, her eyes were directed downward, resting upon me. In that moment, she offered a smile, enigmatic and elusive, leaving me in a state of perplexity. I halted, striving to conceal my embarrassment, yet within me, my confusion swelled to an overwhelming degree. I recognized that expression, understood the revelation that had just unfolded before her, yet I found myself too hesitant to confront it or articulate the truth. I managed to reinstall it, I stammered, attempting to dispel the uncomfortable silence that hung in the air. Oh, so soon? Thank you, she responded, a faint smile lingering on her lips. She reclaimed the phone from my grasp, her gaze flickering momentarily to my face, as if seeking to measure my response. It's merely a trivial error, nothing more. I responded, striving to maintain an air of tranquility, yet beneath the surface, I was acutely aware that this serenity was merely a mask. Her appearance and delicate gestures today stirred a torrent of feelings that I struggled to contain. Having returned Anne's phone and believing the matter concluded, I readied myself to rise and watch her exit the room. Yet, before I could utter a word, she pivoted, leaning in closer, and inquired if something was amiss. From across the table, she inquired, her voice gentle yet laden with significance. Do I appear beautiful? Logan, the unforeseen inquiry left me pondering how best to respond. I offered a hesitant smile, searching for a means to divert his attention. Isn't it simply stunning? What has prompted you to ask that all of a sudden? Is there an issue at hand? An SM, that is precisely why you offered your salute. Her words struck like a thunderbolt, causing a rush of blood to flood my face. My heart raced, and my entire being was engulfed in confusion, unsure of how to respond. I swiftly shook my head, denying it at once. No, it's not like that. What are you thinking? Yet her gaze remained fixed on me, and the subtle curve of her smile deepened my sense of embarrassment. With each deliberate step, she drew nearer, and I couldn't shake the sensation that this confined space was closing in around me. I took a step back, attempting to maintain my distance, yet in an instant, she surged forward, gripping my shoulders with both hands, her face mere centimeters from mine. Logan, what are you afraid of? We are both grown-ups, and I can sense your thoughts. I've witnessed it all before. I averted my gaze, unwilling to meet her eyes. What exactly are you referring to? Cease the jesting. It lacks humor. Yet she persisted, inching nearer, her warm breath brushing against my neck, heightening my anxiety to an unprecedented level. Logan, what is it that keeps you from reaching out to me? I know you want me to. Anna's voice was gentle, yet her words cut deep, slicing through my thoughts. The atmosphere grew dense, and my heart raced, pounding fiercely as if it might burst free from my chest. Don't say it, I urged, my voice quivering yet resolute, a barrier against the encroaching threat. I took a step back, putting space between us, my gaze fixed intently on her. Do you truly understand what you're saying? This is wrong, and you're my sister. Her eyes flashed with pain for a minute. She moved forward, her voice low and almost begging. Logan, stop lying to yourself. I could see everything in your eyes. You do not need to hide or fake your emotions. I felt my entire body freeze, but my mind was powerful enough to resist. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm in the midst of my confusion and anxiety. No, you're wrong. I don't think like that. I don't want that. We are brothers, we are family. She halted, her face full of misery and guilt. Her eyes searched mine for a signal to continue, but I remained focused, determined not to let her go any further. Finally, she averted her gaze as if she did not dare to confront the truth, her voice lowered to a sorrowful whisper. I'm sorry, I'm not sure why I'm like this. Maybe I should go back to my room. She turned away. Each slow stride seemed to drag the unpleasant atmosphere that remained in the room after the door was closed. I collapsed on the bed, feeling as if I'd just escaped a big hurricane. My mind was in complete pandemonium, with no way out. Anne's remarks kept repeating in my mind, and each term and word seemed to penetrate deep into my soul. She said I didn't have to pretend to want her. Those statements appeared to betray the feelings I had tried to suppress. Even I was reluctant to admit she was correct. I couldn't deny that after several seemingly unintentional encounters, I had bad sentiments about her. But my reason was strong enough to remind me that she was my sister, and we could never cross that line. I recognized how dangerous this situation was. Her every word and action tonight had demolished the fragile barrier between us. If I didn't stay rational, if I let myself go even once, everything would fall apart, beyond repair. I sat in the empty room, my heart pounding with sorrow. I wasn't sure who to blame, her or myself, for letting things get this far. That night, I was unable to sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the black ceiling, reflecting on what had happened in just one day. My relationship with her had shifted tremendously. I remembered her eyes, her smile, and the conflicting hidden words. She was the person I had always admired and felt was closest to me. But now everything was so complicated that I couldn't face the notion of what would happen tomorrow. If I stayed here, would I eventually lose control of myself? I came to understand that no matter how potent human emotions may be, they cannot withstand the pull of temptation if left unchecked. I found myself too close, too familiar, and too frightened by the prospect of losing control. The thought of dissolving all boundaries weighed heavily on me. After a long night of contemplation, I resolved to take a bold step. I recognized that the only way to safeguard myself from making an irreversible mistake was to leave. I needed to distance myself, to create enough space to prevent these emotions from surfacing. This decision was not merely a solution to my immediate predicament, but also a means to protect our cherished family bonds. The following morning, as the family gathered for breakfast, I chose to share my intentions. My voice carried a serious yet bewildered tone. "Mom and Dad, I think I'm going to move out." My father set down his teacup, his expression one of surprise. "Why do you suddenly want to go? At your age, wouldn't it be easier to remain at home? Is there an issue at hand?" My mother gazed at me, her eyes filled with concern. "Is something wrong, Logan? Or do you sense a discomfort within the confines of your home? Please share your thoughts with us," I urged, attempting to mask my inner turmoil with a smile aimed at my parents. "Mom, Dad, I feel like I've reached a point where independence is essential. I truly believe that stepping out on my own will teach me how to navigate life and prepare me for what lies ahead." My father's brow furrowed, deep in contemplation, but after a moment, he nodded slowly. "If this is your decision, we will honor it. However, should you encounter any challenges, don't hesitate to reach out. You can always come back home." He glanced at my mother, whose worry was palpable yet unspoken. "Make sure to take care of yourself. Do you need help with finding a place, moving your things, or anything else?" I knew this was the best decision for Anne and myself. I needed time and space to process these emotions in order to be myself again and keep the family together after all I had been through. I learned an important lesson. Emotions are challenging to manage, but not impossible. Moments of weakness can enable us to become swept up in hazy emotions, easily crossing the line of morality and family connections. Yet being conscious of right and wrong and keeping sensible are key aspects in preventing permanent mistakes. I believe that sharing your feelings is not wrong, but understanding how to set proper limits is sometimes important. Distance was built not to flee, but to protect more essential ideas: love, respect, and self-esteem. The most significant lesson I learned is that courage is not only about facing problems, but also about knowing when to walk away in order to save the finest things. The decision to leave a dangerous situation is not a sign of weakness, but rather a necessary one. To keep yourself and those around you from being harmed by the story, I have some advice for everyone. In life, we cannot avoid unforeseen events that trigger uncontrollable emotions. These emotions, whether momentary or long-lasting, might lead to mistakes if we don't know how to handle them properly. As a result, my advice is to always be smart and aware of boundaries in all interactions. When you find yourself caught up in an uncontrollable emotional spiral, pause and ask yourself, is This emotion worth sacrificing for precious possessions, mindfulness and self-reflection can help you recognize how acting on your emotions can jeopardize values you care about, such as familial bonds, honor or self-esteem. If you are having trouble restraining yourself, do not be afraid to remove yourself or seek assistance from family, friends or a mental health professional. Avoidance is not a sign of weakness, but rather a tactic for protecting yourself from more serious damage. Remember that the decisions you make today can affect both your own and others' futures. Maintaining boundaries and adhering to your views and principles is the most effective way to live a peaceful and happy life. My story ends here. Thank you for hearing my story. See you in the following videos.